Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Hashtag Behind Relationship Goals. That's Bonizi.
And that's Fofo.
And as you can see, we stuck to a newer setup where our hands are free. We have no microphone in hand. You guys said you liked it a bit better.
Yeah, so hopefully it's a nice setup for you guys. And I'm sure that you also noticed, and we got some comments that yes, we didn't have a podcast last week, and we're sorry about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. But right now, the topic for today's podcast is all about...
Vacaciones.
Because if you notice from our social media, Bonizi and I went on vacation a couple of weeks ago, and people have been asking where it was. It's time to finally announce we went to
Boracay.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. But you know what? That's not the point. All of us have always known that Boracay has always been beautiful. But I think right now the question is, first and foremost, is...
Why the heck did you even go on a vacation, Bonizi and Fofo?
It's 2020. There's a pandemic. Why would we go on vacation? So we're gonna break this down, and then of course we're gonna break down the experience of that vacation and then what we did during our time there.
Okay, so first things first is this whole idea came from this guy over here. Yes, Fofo saw an ad somewhere and he got excited and he was like, Bonizi, we have to go here.
Nabudol ako ng online marketing.
In fairness, gumana yung ad sa'yo, ha?
Galing talaga ng online marketing. And I know it. I know when I see an ad and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. This is working on me right now. Okay? And the particular part of the ad that worked was the numbers. Because there was such a huge discount. And from what I saw online, there's anywhere from a 50 to even an 80 to 90% discount on hotel rates and flight rates to and from Boracay.
There was even a hotel na super nice on Station 1 that I keep seeing the ad, up to 70% off.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that piqued our interest.
Yeah.
And the second thing was, we had to think long and hard and discuss, is it okay? Can we take a vacation or go out of Metro Manila right now?
Yeah, because I remember like months ago, I would see my friends from other countries and even chat with them. They're like, yeah, we're going to Miami. We're gonna like party and we're gonna like go to the beach and like hotel and stuff like that. I'm like, girl, what are you saying? Like, what are you doing? So definitely a couple of months ago, it was definitely a hard no. If like, even though rules were in place and Fofo said, let's go on vacation, I would say, Fofo, we are staying at home.
I'd like to share what went through my mind. I shared this with you though.
Yeah.
So for me, this pandemic, I think we've finally come to terms with how it's going to end. And it's not going to end anytime soon. There is a vaccine coming.
Yes.
But even in the best case scenario, you have to, if you want to distribute the vaccine to billions of people, that doesn't happen in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That doesn't even happen in a couple of months. I don't even think we've distributed enough burgers or soda bottles to the whole population of the world ever, lalo na an expensive and hard to deliver vaccine or medicine, right? So it will take a while, and probably it will take the whole of 2021 and maybe a spillover to really get this under control. So that made me realize that life has to go on for everyone.
Itutuloy-tuloy na lang yung buhay. Pero, I mean, the big question here is, how do you even continue on with life during a pandemic? Because of course, one thing that we want is we want to help out, you know, the locals and the businesses. But how do we do that?
Yeah, so tourism here in the Philippines took a hard hit, and Bonizi and I, we told ourselves that we would try to help them out in any way that we can, and we thought that maybe sharing our own experience traveling, even if we are one of the first to travel, I think that would be nice, and thus we are making this podcast for you guys to share that exact experience.
And I really hope that with this podcast, it really piques your interest and mapag-isipan nyo if traveling during these times is something that would be in your interest. I mean, of course, you have to take a lot of things into place. It's not just, we're not just here saying like, yeah, it's safer to travel now, go ahead and do it. Of course, you do whatever safety protocols you need to do and really discuss with the people that you love the most.
Okay, so aside from journalism, which is recording our experiences, and the second part, which is helping out local tourism, the third one is timing. Because this was the very first time, I think, tourism for locals here in the Philippines started to be allowed maybe like end of October ba, from what I remember correctly.
Parang end of October, or October siya nag-open.
Yeah. So with that, I think timing was also very important. I think we were very aware that people were going to be medyo ilang. So they were going to be very hesitant to book. So we
Medyo
knew, or we had a feeling that there weren't going to be a lot of people yet. And we also knew and saw that prices were going to be bagsak.
Actually, when we looked at prices right then and there, the prices were so low. But anyways, moving along to why we decided to travel. One of the things that I told Fofo on why I'm saying yes to this, or why I said yes, was because I just wanted to get outside of this box. Let's be honest, a lot of people are feeling this out there. If you're feeling the cabin fever, I think I already felt it like during like the past couple of months. I was like, wow, I need to get out of this box. I need to like see the sand and I need to see the water. I just need to see something different.
Bonizi was feeling revenge travel. Have you seen that online?
No, what's that?
No, because supposedly now the traveling is a bit more open for everybody. May sinasabi silang revenge travel na talagang gigil na gigil silang bumiyahe.
Revenge travel. Ah, ah, ah.
So I don't have that. I mean, you guys know me. I can be stuck in
A bubble.
in a bubble for a really long time and I'll be fine. But I didn't know that Bonizi apparently was having revenge travel feelings already.
Or we can say cabin
just,
fever.
Of course, we just call it that. We're just putting a name and label to it. But Bonizi just wanted to get out of the house. And that's okay. It's okay for everyone else to feel that way.
It's valid. Valid yung feelings natin.
Okay, so with that, we've shared why we finally decided to travel. I think the second part now is how we did it.
Ooh, very interesting. When we did our research, the first thing that we did was we checked out how safe is it really to go to Boracay, because safety is definitely our number one priority. When it came to work, it was always safety first. And when we're traveling to places outside our homes, it can be scary. And of course, even though you're so safe, syempre you can't account or control other people's actions, and you don't know where other people came from. So you just want to be super duper sure about all these things. So we checked the LGU of Aklan, and it was really cool because they were actually pretty strict about their protocols.
Yeah, so FYI, apparently the Philippines, from my understanding, we have our rules in terms of traveling between regions and cities and provinces, but at an LGU level, they also have their own rules that they have to implement. So if you have any intentions of traveling as well, it's important to know what the rules of the place that you are going to are, because they all differ. Like some provinces will still require a mandatory 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
Others require rapid test. Others require PCR tests.
And others only allow residents of that city. Some will allow domestic travelers. Some, as in, no in and outs talaga.
Oh, my age limit. Sometimes babies can't go in or out, or kids can't go in and out. So it's very important to make sure and double check. It's always nice, maybe if you have a friend in that province that you're going to, just to make sure, kasi alam mo naman, sometimes information can kind of go haywire when it's passed on from person to person.
So definitely when we checked out the website, I think it was touristboracay.com. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was really cool kasi may option na if you were a local or if you were a domestic traveler. And there were just a couple of requirements that you had to have. You had to have your booking for your flight in your hotel. You needed to have proof of identification. And I think there was another one, and a PCR test. You needed to have a negative PCR test.
Yeah, and you needed to have that, 3 days before or 7 days before? I think it was 3 days.
Basta the test, the negative PCR test has to be parang maximum 3 days before your flight.
3 days before your flight.
Before your flight. So we left on the 21st and we had our test on the 18th.
Yeah, so those were some of the requirements that we had. We'll talk about the safety protocols in Boracay a bit later on. But now let's move on to the money part.
Ooh.
Okay, so like I said, maybe around 50 to 80% discount on the flight and the hotel. So our flight was around 2,500 pesos round trip. And I remember specifically...
Base fee.
Yeah.
base fee.
But I remember specifically that it was around 10 to 12,000 pesos the last time we went there for the wedding of my cousin.
Yeah.
This was pre-pandemic.
And you know what? Even there were even times before that I remember. Now, a one-way ticket from either Boracay or whichever would be like 10K already.
So
Super
peak
mahal
season,
before.
peak season na yun. So a huge discount. And then when it came to the hotels, not only was there a discount on the actual rate, but some of the hotels would give even more benefits, like a dining credit or a spa credit.
Yeah.
So you can use that daily. We had the 1,200 peso dining credit, so we didn't have to spend that much anymore every day.
Yeah, and it's funny because Fofo and I, although we eat a lot in one go, apparently we don't eat as many meals.
Yeah.
So it was actually pretty sulit for us.
Yeah, so in one day we would only spend just a bit over the dining credit. So that
So
was very
nakatipid
nice.
tayo.
Nakatipid.
Nakatipid.
But now the question is, sulit ba talaga? Because how much is a PCR test? Now the PCR test that we got, let's be honest, it was 6,500 pesos.
Yes.
But we found out later on that there are actually cheaper ones.
So there are some, like based on like if it's from the lab itself or if it's from third party, I think they can go as low as 4,000 pesos based on parang asking friends that have done
Yeah,
these
and I
tests.
think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I read a news article when we got back home that PCR tests should be no higher than 5,000 pesos.
Ooh,
I read
okay.
something about that,
Okay.
which is nice that they put a cap on it, but I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section.
Yeah, because there have been tests out there na parang 8,000, 8,500, and it just seems a bit pricey. But of course, like people have their reasons for marking it for this amount of money.
Yeah. Okay, so now the question is, sulit nga ba talaga? Now, the PCR test, which was in our case 6,500 pesos,
Each.
would be more sulit if we could amortize it over a longer period of vacation. So, kung wari, your vacation was only 3 days, you're spending upwards of 2,000 pesos. Yun yung worth. But because we stayed for 7-8 days, naging less than 1,000 pesos ang PCR test namin
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah, so if we stayed longer pa, mas sulit pa talaga siya.
Yeah, but that also meant that you would have to pay more for the hotel and for your
Yes.
food. So you have to take all that into consideration. But just in terms of PCR test, the longer your stay is, syempre, the longer you can amortize or divide that PCR test cost.
I think just a little fun finance fact is that Fofo and I like comparing different price ranges for different situations. So we actually tried to like add up parang ano ba talaga yung mas sulit? Ilang araw yung mas sulit sa atin?
Yeah, so we tried to find a healthy balance of length and expenses for this trip. But there's another X factor, the most important reason when considering price when it comes to this vacation. But we'll talk about that a bit later.
Also, just a reminder that if you guys plan on going to Boracay or anywhere else that requires a PCR test, make sure that you're getting it from a licensed laboratory, because if it's not, syempre, you don't know how true your results are and baka hindi ka papasukin dun sa area na kailangan.
Now, before we move on, maybe 2 stories that I'd like to share super quick. The first one is when we got to Boracay, people kept telling us na, uy, swerte nakapasok kami because we had all the requirements. Apparently, Aklan really does turn people away.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're residents,
Even when
if
they're
they're
at the,
foreigners, if they're from Metro Manila, they will turn you away if you are not prepared. So please always make sure you have those requirements.
And they will turn you away at the airport. And we remember when we asked one of the people from the airline that we booked with, they said na kawawa daw yung mga nagbo-book ng flight, and then they don't have all the requirements because they'll have to rebook once they get all the requirements na.
But that was actually a nice story to hear kasi at least may integrity yung safety protocols natin. Okay lang na may ma-turn back pero at least nasusundan yung safety protocols. Because at the end of the day, it's for the benefit of everybody traveling and everybody in the Philippines. Now with that, we get to the experience in Boracay. Bonizi, how was your Boracay experience?
It felt like Boracay when I visited in the 90s.
I
with
agree.
my family. I remember it was 1998 and we were visiting Antique because my mom is from there, and they took us to Boracay. And at that time, there weren't any big infrastructures. It was really just mga bahay kubo, and there was a shake shop. And although there are buildings now, like the atmosphere felt exactly like that.
Yeah. So I also agree. I went to Boracay back in 1999, and whenever we would go out, so we went out to Long Beach almost every day. Not even almost every day, most of the time. And there was only one day where we saw a lot of people. Every other day, it was like Bonizi and I owned the island.
Yeah, yun lang. Tapos parang there were some locals, there were some guys there trying to like sell their activities business.
Which was surprising. I'm amazed that there were still people doing that, considering na kami lang talaga yung nandun. So,
Hey, I mean, I really admire that they're out there even though wala pang masyadong tao, because if you get one customer, kita na yun para sa'yo.
true. Actually, I do have stories about that. So, I'll say that a bit later on because I was able to talk to some of the locals. But the first thing I actually did when I got to our resort was I asked what was open along station 1, 2, and 3. And they showed me a photo, and literally it was like a handful, maybe like 15 to 20 establishments lang.
Siguro mga 20 something.
But in terms of restos, maybe just a handful.
Yeah.
20 establishments, including some of the resorts and some of the shops and groceries. But in terms of restaurants, konting-konti lang talaga. We even went through the mall, and I had some photos of this. I'll have a vlog about it as well.
You have an Instagram post about this.
Yeah. I'd say 80% to 90% of the stores inside the mall was closed. And talagang, it was sad because what used to be,
a lively mall and market, just it felt like it was 5 o'clock in the morning walking past the mall at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and sa totoo lang nabubulok na kasi you're by the beach. It's very humid. It's exposed to the elements, and not even just the mall, but if you walk through station 1, 2, and 3, you see a lot of shops that have closed down, and you realize, and when you look at it, oh my God, hindi na sila magbubukas.
Yeah. There was that feeling when you saw some shops, and honestly, it was really, really sad.
And I mean, yes, it's sad, but it's also, I guess, motivation for all of us to kind of help one another.
Yeah.
And just support in any way that we can. I mean, sometimes it's not just about the cash. Of course, that is important, but sharing the experience and sharing that it is possible to travel, and just trying to get the industry, the tourism industry, even just for Filipinos, back on its feet.
So during one of our trips to the main island, Long Beach ba?
Yeah, the main beach.
So during one of our trips to the main beach, so we're outside of the hotel na, one of the things that we noticed is that, one, walang tao, pero people start coming out when the sun starts to set.
Because of the beautiful sunset in Boracay. So the first few days, kasi Bonizi and I would go out in the morning or during lunchtime, so mga 11 to 2 p.m. And those were the times na literally
there's nobody.
Walang tao. There might be like one kid running around, and that's it. But it was an amazing feeling, and we kind of just, basked in that unique experience. Kasi how many more times in our lives are we gonna experience Boracay in that way?
Yeah.
So it was also raining a lot, so that also added to why people weren't there. But for me and Bones, we were like, oh, we don't care. This is fun. And I always found it a bit magical when it rains in the beach. More pa in a beach as beautiful as Boracay. So that was always a nice experience for me. Another addition is no nightlife.
Wala. Zero. Like
nightlife.
the nightlife places that you would see were just restaurants now.
Yeah. And there were a couple of bars open, but they were open during the day. I doubt they were open at night kasi right after sunset, when it gets dark, halos wala ng tao.
Yeah.
People start going inside, going back to the resort. So may mga tao naman. I even heard of a resort because their prices were super bagsak presyo na they were actually hit around 50% occupancy.
Oh, wow.
But I guess people were still very hesitant lang to kind of
join in one group together.
yeah, but that brings me to the new safety protocols in the island mismo. So you have to pass through the checkpoints to get to the island, but in the island, may safety protocols rin.
One thing that I loved about the Aklan local government was that they required you send all the requirements earlier, and we didn't get to mention that once you have all the requirements, they actually send you a QR code that you will use to get into the island. So you cannot get on the boat from Katiklan to Boracay if you do not have this.
The second thing is while you were on the beach, you will get contact traced. So meaning the lifeguard will come up to you and ask you to sign, and they might ask to see your QR code. And I know from personal experience that sometimes it is a hassle. It feels like a hassle to keep on signing up, but do it anyway. I still do it simply because kung matsyempohan ka na you are connected to someone who gets COVID, it will be important. Those contact tracing documents and those things that you sign will be important to let you know that, hey, you are in touch with someone, you should quarantine.
Ito talaga yung mga bagay na hindi ka dapat tatamad-tamad eh.
Yeah. Even though it can feel that way after you keep on doing it repetitively, I think these are some of the habits that we need to be able to shift and just accept for, I guess, the rest of this pandemic.
Ooh, one thing that I also really liked about the new Boracay system. I don't know if this was something that they put in place before, but they had lifeguards all around the beach, and there were only certain areas where you could swim in, and they had flags that they would put up if it was safe to swim or not, and there was only a certain area that you could just waddle in the water para at least nandun yung lifeguard.
Yeah, so you could only swim in between the two flags.
And we were
outside
outside of the flag. Di namin
we didn't know that. So I think the next step would be, how do you disseminate this information properly to everybody going in?
Yeah.
Because we never saw that. So we were trying to be very responsible. So when we started swimming, apparently we were swimming outside of the flag. So the lifeguard went up to us, tried to call us back in and said, "Sir, please move in between the two flags and then swim there para mabantayan ka namin." Sabi ko, okay, sorry. So okay lang naman. They weren't so strict to the point na, okay, nagkamali ka, penalty ka kagad.
They really told us na parang, please move in, it's for your safety.
Yeah.
And because we honestly didn't know.
It was an honest mistake. So it's an adjustment period for everyone. I think anywhere naman, especially kung paiba-iba yung rules ng LGU, that adjustment period will be there. And it's nice that we all kind of understand one another, coming from the tourist side and from the enforcement side.
Of course, there were a lot of things that we loved about Boracay. I mean, I remember going to Boracay at such a young age, being able to enjoy the nightlife when we were in our younger 20s. And it was just such an amazing experience that each time in our lives, we got to experience a different kind of Boracay.
True.
What was one thing that you loved about our trip?
Just being by the beach. I mean, I've always appreciated the beauty of that island. So just waking up in the morning or even going back to sleep, hearing the waves.
The waves.
For me, it was those little things that I really appreciated and that I just wanted to take in. I think, given 2020 and that's all its challenges, it really puts you in a mindset to kind of stop and take in the moment. So I did that a lot.
Yeah, it was so nice just being on the beach, and even if we had moments where we were just alone and by ourselves, na kahit na may mga tao sa paligid, we got to enjoy Boracay for what it was.
And of course, another thing that we loved is we finally got our first massage of 2020.
Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to explain how I felt when, diba, when they start a massage, they light stretch your back. It felt like the most amazing thing in the world because although I can give Fofo a massage on the shoulders, iba pa rin when it's a professional giving you a massage.
Every second of that massage felt heavenly.
I didn't sleep. I really tried my best not to sleep.
Grabe. As in talagang bawat pindot, parang wala pa nga yung kamay dun sa katawan ko, nasarapan na ako.
It was just hanging from the air and you're just
sobrang sulit. You know what?
Massage.
In fairness, it kind of makes a case for me to really spread out massages a bit more. Because if massages feel that good for not having it for 10 months, I'm like, alam mo pwede. Kasi sometimes if you have massages once a month or once every 2 weeks, minsan nadadal yung experience eh.
Yeah, and we would get massages frequently, especially pag mahilig kami mag-gym or sunod-sunod yung pag-gym namin para at least, diba, para we have a healthy flow of our blood while we're doing our gains.
Yeah, and actually connected to that massage experience, we were able to hit the gym. So the hotel that we went to had a gym, and out of the 7 days, I think I gymmed 6 days out of 7.
Ako, 5 out of 7.
I was so proud of myself. And because we had to pay for every meal, syempre hindi kami nagluluto masyado, nagtitipid kami. So dahil nagtitipid kami, nakapag-diet ako. So nakakapag-gym na nga ako, nakakapag-diet pa. As in, I saw myself slim down over the 7 days that I was there.
Fofo, ako din. Like at the beginning, Fofo actually has a picture of me where I'm laying down in my swimsuit and I'm just like, guys, just let me say this. I was so pudgy in that photo, but I'm not gonna show you because it was bad.
It was bad. It was a bad photo.
It was a bad photo.
Hindi siya mananalo ng Miss World 2013 nun.
Hindi talaga. But I noticed also that after our trip, I was like, wow, I don't have that bloat anymore.
No, medyo numipis yung salbabida ni Bones sa tiyan niya.
Kaya
In
naka-one
fairness
piece ako
naman.
dun eh.
Okay. And before we get to the last part of this podcast, I want to talk about the stories that I have. Because Bonizi and I we were able to talk to some of the locals. And we have some happy stories, we have some sad stories, and it's just something that I feel it's important for us to share. Bonizi, do you have any?
What I remember, like one story that I had in mind was our masseuse.
Okay.
Si Barbara yata yung name.
Okay, go, yeah.
Basta there was one night that we got a massage and we actually talked to the masseuse and we said, oh, kamusta yung time mo dito sa Boracay? And she said that, yeah, I'm actually from Manila and I got stuck here during the quarantine. So she actually wasn't able to go home during like this whole like crazy time and she wasn't able to see her family and up until now she's been stuck in Boracay. But she was actually pretty happy about being able to be in a secluded island because she knew that she was safe and it was less risk for her to get sick. Of course, syempre sad kasi hindi niya nakasama yung pamilya niya. But like us, I guess, safety first, health first above everything.
Yeah, and at the same time, inalagaan rin siya ng kumpanya. So she was still given compensation kahit papano. So she felt safe and she had compensation pero yun lang she couldn't be with her family. Now another story on a lighter note would be, I think we met a relative of Megan. So on our first, as soon as we arrived in the island, we were being transported, and one of the drivers said, "Ay, kayo po si Ma'am Megan, di ba? Alam niyo po, magkamag-anak yata tayo."
Yeah, because like apparently like siguro second cousin ng parents niya yung second like grandparents ko or my mom or like
Basta
she knew
talde
somebody.
rin siya and Bonizi is a talde.
Yeah, my mom.
So it is highly possible that they actually really were related.
Maybe
and it was
we're
just funny.
cousins. Maybe we're cousins.
Because your mom is from that area, right?
Yeah, my mom is from Antique.
Yeah, and her mom is the talde. So that was just interesting as soon as we arrived. Uy, I met your cousin, Bonizi. That was funny.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah, and another story. So I went to Bulabog Beach. Bonizi didn't come with me because
I
she
had
had work. I went to Bulabog Beach. I took some photos. I vlogged a little bit, but at the same time, I met a lot of the locals, and I was able to talk to them. I was able to talk to them. So the first one is I met a bunch of kids. And they saw me with my camera, and it was like, "Uy, kuya, YouTube." I was like, yeah. So usap kami, and apparently life was really hard in Boracay. Because there are, I guess, from my experience, two kinds of people in Boracay. One are the locals who actually really live there. And two are the workers who you think live there, but actually, they go home outside of the island pa rin talaga.
So balikan.
Dapat. But some of them got stuck na.
Oh, God.
And then they decided, okay, we have to live here for the time being.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, walang work. There was no economy in Boracay during the pandemic, especially during the height of the lockdowns.
Yeah.
So it got really rough for them.
And to think that the parang semi-lockdown started earlier than the lockdown in March, because when we went there in February, like businesses were already like slowly going down because the Chinese nationals weren't going in, and the Chinese nationals were a big source of income for Boracay.
So it started very early for them, and imagine months on an island where it was difficult to get goods in.
Yeah.
So I can imagine
Yung
prices.
imports, no?
I imagine prices for food and basic necessities would have been really high, and a lot of them they earn from tourists. These are the guys who build sandcastles, and then you give them a tip. Their parents might be the ones asking you to go on a parao
or
on a banana boat.
Yung mga bands that sing by the beach.
So it was sad, and I was just listening to their stories and how they just had to look for a way to get by. Pero it definitely did not seem like it was an easy going time for them. But they were happy. They did say that they were happy that they started seeing more people come in, because even to the kids, these were kids, these are like teenagers.
Okay.
Even to them, they knew that meant that their livelihood was going to pick up.
Yeah. It was going to get better.
Yeah, and then another one is I also talked to a couple of hotel employees who were cleaning up. They were chopping down the trees and the coconuts kasi malaki na yung mga coconuts, so baka malaglag sila. So they were cleaning up the trees, and they said na, "Oo sir, andito lang kami. Binabayaran naman sila ng hotel pero hindi pa sila bukas."
Oh.
So they were just maintaining that hotel.
Maintenance lang. Oo.
So I can just imagine how difficult it was for them to stay there or be stuck there. I'm sure some of them might have wanted to go home. Hindi lang kaya. So those were a couple of stories which, made me realize the harder truths. And it also made me realize that, somehow life has to go on, which means the economy has to start growing again. We have to restart again and I guess help one another out as much as possible.
Tulungan system yan. Like once tourists start going in, especially mga domestic tourists. So we're domestic tourists, we're trying to figure out where we can go to help the businesses strive in these different cities.
Yeah. But with that, do you have any other stories, Buns?
No more stories.
Okay, with that, we go to the X factor reason why we took this vacation. Bonizi, how many percent vacation was this trip?
30%.
The other 70%, this was work.
WORK work.
So, in 2020 and moving forward, that is how Bonizi and I roll during any trip moving forward. Out of the 7 days, we were working every single day.
Yeah, most of the time, I guess, from the moment that we woke up and after we had breakfast, we were already working. I think we would try to cut it off at around 3 p.m. so that we could enjoy the sunset. But we made sure that we made this trip efficient. We were productive with, our everyday routine. And we had a lot of work to do.
Yeah. So my vision or our vision for this trip, that if we go here, it's a new setting, it's a new environment, it's a change of scenery. We'll be able to produce more content here.
We shot a podcast there.
And at the same time, we were hoping that, just traveling and having that adrenaline rush go through us might motivate us even more to work harder, to work better, to get more new ideas. So that was one of the big reasons and the big agreements that Bonizi and I had. We're gonna take this trip, we're gonna enjoy it, but we're gonna use all that adrenaline and excitement to fuel even more work efficiency for us.
Honestly, I don't think that I could have done 7 days of just relaxing.
I can't do that. No way.
I would enjoy it maybe the first day, and then I would get bored by the second day.
Yeah. And I know that everybody has their own ways of relaxing. Some people like to completely let loose 100%, talagang babad lang sa araw, not doing anything. But Bonizi and I were sharing our style. And for this one, we would wake up early, have a nice breakfast, maybe hit the gym, and then from 8 a.m. all the way up to around 3 p.m. we're working. We're inside, we don't see the beach at all. I think there was even one day where pagbaba natin, sunset na, hinabol lang natin yung araw.
Hinabol natin yung sunset.
Hinabol lang namin. But for me,
I had to pull you out of the room pa. I was like, Fofo, let's go. The sun is gonna set.
Yeah, but for me, it was nice. It was a nice reward to be able to work, and after you work, you go down to a beautiful beach. So para sa akin, yun yung binabayaran natin that reward at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it made us very efficient. I think Bonizi and I got a lot of work done. And you can wait for some of that content that we're going to produce and share with you guys.
We've probably already shared quite a couple of pictures and videos on our Instagram with those content.
Yeah, so Bonizi, I think it's nice before we close this podcast to touch on that work vacation vibe.
Okay.
Because I think some people may disagree with that. I think we have some relatives who may disagree with that. No, pag vacation talagang
vacation
separate mo yung work and vacation. But like Bonizi said, sometimes you need to be able to assess yourself.
Yeah.
And you might be forcing a vacation down your own throat, pero yun pala, it's okay and might be better to balance it with a bit of work.
Honestly, and I think with our line of work kasi, since it's, it's kind of like freelance style, especially
Yeah.
if we're not taping. Like, what we do online is like freelance style. When it's there, then it's there. And during that week, we had, thankfully, a lot of work poured in for us. And we weren't gonna be like, we're gonna delay our shooting because we have a vacation. Grabe nakakaya yun sa agencies tsaka sa brand na
Yeah.
kumuha sa atin. So we were like, okay, we'll do everything that we need to do, and we're so lucky that we can be in a beautiful resort by the beach and we can shoot everything there.
Oo.
Mindset lang yan.
One thing that was going for us was when we were working with our clients and producing the work, de bonus pa sa kanila na, uy, ang ganda naman, beach, tapos sobrang
May scenery.
maaraw, ang ganda ng scenery,
May greenery.
kakaiba. So para sa amin, sinulit na rin namin, and I think it worked out well. I think the work that we did, people were very happy with it. So that went hand in hand. The work and the vacation part, I think we balanced that pretty well.
Kailan pa ba tayo makakakuha ng picture with our branded content tapos beach yung background mo no? Ganda. And last things last, I think, like you said, because people may not have the same vision that we have when it comes to working during a vacation, do you think that we missed out on anything during this trip?
What do you mean?
Like, some people might say, parang bitin like, hindi kayo nakapag-enjoy till the fullest, like, puro kayo work since 70% work, like, hindi ba feeling mo nalugi ka? Kasi nagbayad ka ng ganitong price, tapos puro work lang ginawa mo.
Yeah, I don't have that feeling. I think you're referring to FOMO, the fear of missing out, or the fear of missing out making sulit the vacation. But for me, I think I'm able to kind of focus on what is there and what I have.
And you were able to enjoy everything that you wanted to.
Yeah, I knew I had work, but that doesn't mean I get to completely not enjoy the island. I still got to do that. And so whatever time and whatever facilities were available to me for me to enjoy, I was like, I will be happy with this. Because at the same time, I was working para mabawi rin yung cost, ma-offset rin yung cost.
Yeah.
So balance lang yan. For some people, they might be extremely unhappy working while being on vacation or working as much as we did. So like I said, you need to find your balance. So like 70-30, Bonizi and I, we came home refreshed. We came home motivated.
Yeah, for the next day,
And that's what you want from a vacation. You want to recharge. So if for you need like a different split, maybe like 70% vacation, 30% work, or for some people out there, maybe 100% vacation, then that's okay. So we just wanted to share this in hopes that maybe some people might resonate with it, or it might give others ideas to try out. Oh yeah, why don't I try out working during a vacation? Baka mas maging productive rin yun.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Hope you picked up a thing or two from us. And honestly, Fofo, I can't wait for our next trip. And I wonder where that's going to be.
Subic. We're going to Subic. I don't know why Bonizi forgot that.
No, I mean, like, syempre aside from Subic.
Okay. All right. Just saying. So the people of Subic, see you guys soon.
Alright, and that's it for hashtag Behind Relationship Goals. Don't forget you can email us at behindrelationshipgoals@gmail.com. And super thank you guys for all the comments. And we saw all the tags that you guys put for Spotify. If we were your #1 podcast.
Oh yeah, oh my
if
God,
we were
thank
a
you so
podcast that you guys
much.
listen to. We love you guys so much. Wow,
Yeah, and with that, well, grabe naman. And with that, you can check us out on Spotify. If you want to see our lovely faces, you can check us out on YouTube as well. Do subscribe or follow on Spotify or YouTube, please. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the podcast. I am Fofo.
And I'm Bowen.
See you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Boy.
Natouch talaga ako.